We'll continue our driver media availabilities in advance of Sunday's 18th Annual Hollywood Casino 400. We're joined now by the driver of the number 88 Nationwide Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports, Alex Bowman. Alex, welcome. And we'll get right to it with questions. If you'll raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. Don't all do it at one time.
It's a lively room we got here.
Go to Dustin first, please.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Obviously, you were in a tough situation last week in terms of points, and there was the opportunity to get a lot. What didn't go right last week, and what do you have to do to avoid that this week? I know it's a totally different track, but just what do you have to do different?
Yeah, what didn't go right was just 10 really fast Fords sitting on the bottom, nobody wanting to go anywhere, and really hard to really make anything happen. They were all working together really well, and we had a fast enough race car to get something going, and just weren't able to do it. So it was a pretty frustrating day for sure. And this is one of my better racetracks. I feel like I've won a couple ARCA races here and ran pretty solid here in 16 driving the 88 car. So I'm excited. I feel like our mile-and-a-half program's gotten a lot better over the course of the last few months, and I think we can have a shot at winning here for sure. It's that's what it's going to take, and hopefully we can get the job done.
We'll go over here to Pat, and then we'll come to Bob.
Pat Tickle on NASCAR.com. With you and William and Chase, I feel like oftentimes you guys are asked, like, what sort of influence does Jimmy Johnson have on you guys since he's the veteran? Do you feel that the three of you have had any influence on him, maybe? Like something we're not seeing?
It's a tough question. I think Jimmy is an open book, and he's a super humble guy. He's always willing to learn from people. I don't know that there's really much we could teach him or influence him on, but he's definitely always open to really anything. So he's been a huge help to all of us, and I try to lean on him as much as I possibly can. He's the best help I could ever ask for, and having him as a teammate's been a great thing for me, I feel like. But as far as him leaning on us or him trying to learn from us, I don't really know how we could influence him. But maybe we have, and I just don't realize it. But I think it's more the other way around for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's that's a really tough question to answer. I think it's hard for me to answer that really for him, because if we have influenced him in some way, maybe I haven't seen it. He does this thing. He's super fit, one of the best race car drivers that the sport's ever seen, super successful. And obviously it's been a rough year for him, but I don't think that has really changed much. I mean, he's still as driven as he's ever been, and still probably the most driven and motivated person I've ever met.
We'll go up front here to Bob, then to Claire.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Is this a track where you can take like wild risks, like two tire stops, no tire stops, or try a different strategy to try to win? Or are you gonna have to be the best car on Sunday to win?
I feel like there are always opportunities for a two tire stop to work. I really feel like this place, it's so wide and you can move around so much that it's not easy to pass, especially when it gets kind of strung out and everybody's running the top. It gets pretty difficult to pass, but the best car typically prevails here, I feel like. So I don't know that taking a ton of risk is going to win you the race. I mean, you could go from running 10th to maybe finishing 4th or 5th with a big risk. But I don't know that it's going to win the race for you.
We'll stay up front here with Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Since the changes for 2019 were announced at Hendrick Motorsports with crew chief, driver, et cetera, what are you seeing there? Like, what are you noticing, number one?
Honestly, I don't really, nothing for me has changed.
Right.
Obviously, my whole team's staying the same, and, you probably see Chad talking to William a little bit more and trying to learn more about William and stuff like that. But that's, is pretty little things. I think it's really business as usual. Everybody's trying to bring the best race cars to the racetrack we possibly can, and we all work together really closely anyway. I mean, our team offices are all right next to each other, and we're all really one big team. So I think not a whole lot's really changed.
And where do you think your team is at right now, kind of in the scheme of things? And you guys will stay together, but where do you think you're at?
I think Greg and I work really well together, and the whole team is one of the better teams that I've been on as far as people working together and getting along well. We definitely have some personalities, but it's a really good group of guys, and I really enjoy working with them. So I'm glad we're all sticking together. I think Greg and I are continuing to build our relationship, and Jeff Gordon's been pretty good about kind of looking in from the outside over the last couple weeks and sitting on the pit box, and I think he's kind of pointed some things out that Greg and I can improve on for sure. And Greg and I have talked quite a bit about just little things to improve on, and I think we're getting better, and our race cars have obviously gotten better, but I think our communication is only getting better as well.
We'll go to the back, and then we'll come back up here to Pat.
Rich Colbert, Motor Racing Network. Earlier you mentioned how you've been leaning on Jimmy Johnson on some advice and stuff. Next week we go to Martinsville. He's pretty good there. I don't know if you know that or not. Have you leaned on him about that track? You got a top 10 last time you were there.
Yeah, I've definitely leaned on him when we were there for the first race. That's an interesting place for me. I tend to not practice or qualify very well, but tend to race really well. Even driving for smaller teams, we had some really solid days there. So I'm looking forward to getting back there. Obviously, I think we finished 7th there in the spring and had a really good day for what at the time was a really tough time for us. So I think we can go back there and contend for a win. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'll always lean on Jimmy no matter where we go. I mean, I think there's nowhere that he's not really, really good at. So just trying to learn from him whenever I can and just be a sponge whenever I'm around him.
Come up here to Pat and then to Dustin.
Pat Ticola, NASCAR.com. Have you read Dale's book, and was there anything in there that maybe you could glean to help your career?
I have not. I would like to, for sure. They've kept me pretty busy the last couple weeks and been thrashing on Chili Bowl cars and stuff like that. So I haven't had really any free time. But I would love to sit down and read it, or read it on the plane to and from the racetrack, do something. Seen a lot of people talking a lot about it, and it'd be a good read for sure.
Dustin?
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. How do you mean communication has gotten better? I mean, you guys have been together for almost a full season. You were together for that part of that one season, so you've had a lot of time together. Can you explain a little bit more on that, please?
Yeah, I think just having somebody like Jeff, he sat on the box at, I think, Dover and was pretty involved in Talladega. I think he, just having that outside looking in, being able to lean on him. Obviously, he's been super successful and had a bunch of different crew chiefs and worked really well with them. And just having him to lean on and point little things out, I think was a big help. And then, honestly, Richmond, kind of the way the race went, we had a really good first 2 stages and then kind of fell apart the last half of the race. There was, I think, some frustrations on both sides, and it got Greg and I to kind of have a conversation and talk more really about what Greg needed from me throughout the race, and kind of made me change, I guess, how I approached just some different feedback things throughout the race. And I'm typically on the quiet side on the radio and try to not get too fired up and don't try not to complain, honestly. And just some little things that I can do a better job of, and keeping him more up to date on the race car and stuff like that. And I feel like we went to Dover and we didn't have the best day by any means, and we just fought hard all day, and I feel like I did a better job of communicating, and our communication was just better. So I think Talladega kind of is what it is communication-wise, but I think Dover was a good step in the right direction, and I'm excited to see what we have this weekend. Jeff just, I spent pretty much all day Wednesday with him, and kind of just any little advice he can give and just little tidbits of things he thinks I should do differently or we should do differently as a team, and things to talk about going forward. It's just a bunch of little things, but to have somebody like that on your side and as big a part of the team as he is a big help.
We'll go to Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Alex, knowing that you probably haven't been in a playoff structure like this before, and knowing every race you want to win, but have you ever been in a must-win situation like this before, this sort of deal?
Honestly, I felt like almost every week in 2016 was a must-win situation, just trying to prove myself. Those races for Ganassi last year, I felt like they were must-win situations with how successful that car had been, especially with their mile-and-a-half program. And going to Charlotte, I felt like I really needed to win the race to kind of prove that I deserved the shot that I was going to get in the 88 car. But obviously, the playoffs are a whole nother level of pressure, and everything is different. So I'm glad it's Kansas. I love this place. I really enjoy it. I haven't had the best days here by any means, but I've won a few times in ARCA and ran really well here in 16. So I think it's a good place for me, and I'm just going to try to make the most of it and have the best day we can.
We might be surprised, the garage might be surprised if you do win Sunday. Would your team be surprised if you guys won?
I think with all the resources we have and the people and the knowledge we have at Hendrick Motorsports, I don't think anybody's surprised within the organization when a HMS car wins. I think we haven't shown the speed this year, really up until probably a month and a half ago when we went to Vegas and ran really strong. I think up until then we hadn't really shown race-winning speed by any means. But over the last month and a half, 2 months, we've improved a lot, and I really don't think we would be surprised if we won. Obviously, it'd be great, and a first Cup win would be amazing. My dad's family's from here, so that'd be pretty cool for them. But you never know.
We'll finish up in the back with Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, Kicking the Tires.net, Performance Racing Network. If you'd ask a lot of people at the beginning of the season, they would probably have not picked you to be this far into the playoffs. So at the end of the year, do you think that, especially with how Hendrick was running, do you think y'all have turned it around to a point where you're proud of your season, regardless of what happens this weekend with the cutoff?
Yes and no. I'm very proud of the progress we've made over the course of the year. How everybody at Hendrick Motorsports, every individual has stepped up and worked really hard. There's been a lot of late nights, a lot of overtime put in. The road crew especially, they're there super late every night trying to get these cars done. And, I'm super proud of my team in that aspect. Proud of Greg for some of the changes that he's initiated and steps he's taken to try to make our race cars better. I'm frustrated that we haven't won yet. That's a big thing for me. Ever since Phoenix 16, I think until I win a Cup race, I'm going to be pretty frustrated. Being close and not getting the job done definitely eats me up a little bit, but we've got some work to do to make that happen. So until we do that, I'm not going to be super happy about anything, but very proud of the progress we've made this season.
Alex, thanks for joining us. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys.